Hello, everybody, and welcome to the new AMBA podcast, the Meishan Edge, highlighting the unique advantages of the Meishan pig. I'm Laura Jensen, and I'm the president of the American Meishan Breeders Association, and I am here today with
Jonathan Kemmerer. I'm the head of research, and we just want to give you a little bit of background about what this podcast is going to be about.
Yeah, so kind of how did we get here? We want to share a little bit of our background stories, then talk about the association, where it's at, and how this podcast can really help us all with the Meishan movement in North America, and I think beyond. I think it's heading there. So again, I'm Laura Jensen, president of the association. I'm actually the oldest active AMBA member. So I joined this whole crazy Meishan thing when Rico Silvera founded the association in 2016. I was actually growing out meat pigs as he was figuring out kind of how the whole AMBA thing worked. His original plan was to make the registry only half Meishan because he felt like maybe there weren't enough, or that was what needed to happen. And I remember all of it like screaming, like, no, you can't do that. It has to be 100%. It is that great, amazing pig. So I had the great fortune of being a part of the building of the association, but while that was happening, I was building my retail store, Jensen Reserve. So I actually stopped breeding and let Rico handle that while I built Jensen Reserve. And I hung there for a while. I would buy feeder pigs from him and grow them out, and that would help him kind of manage his breeding program. And then in 2020, the world changed. In March of 2020, I got a phone call that I was not expecting. And that was Rico asking me to take over his work. And to me, there was only one answer. You don't get that call twice in a lifetime, right? So I jumped in. That was also in the COVID shutdown. I will always remember going to get the pigs in Tennessee, and it was hard to find gas in a bathroom. And there was nothing open to eat because the world was shut down. So we had 3 weeks to build out lots for the 12 hogs I brought in. 7 of them were foundation hogs, and then the other 5 were other pigs from there. What we actually figured out, and Rico told me that this was the case, that of those 12 pigs, most of them were done breeding. So the 7 foundation hogs were done breeding. And then of the other 5, 2 of them were brothers and sisters. I inherited backlogs for 50 pigs that quickly grew to 100. So in 2021, my husband and I put together a new core herd for the association. We had, I think at one time, 23 breeders on the farm. And in that year, we delivered over 100 pigs. I got pretty good at flying pigs all around the country. People would drive down from New Hampshire, Arizona, things like that to get this thing started. So it went from something small that was really in danger of moving forward in 2020 to we made this big, huge change in 21 that set it on the path it's on today. So all that to say, I still have Jensen Reserve going, the retail store. I can actually cure an entire Meishan carcass and wholesale it. That's been a journey, but we did that too. I have a consulting business called The Pig Nerd, and then I have this podcast and one with Jensen Reserve as well. So I wear a lot of hats. I absolutely love what I do. And that's my story with the Meishan. Let's hear yours, Jonathan.
Sure. I discovered the Meishan probably sometime around 2017, and I reached out to Rico to buy pigs, and I was talking to my dad about it, and said, you're going to drive out to East Tennessee to buy a breeding pair. And I said, yeah. And he said, you really think these pigs are worth it? And I said, yeah. And he's like, well, then you need to get a lot more in a breeding pair. And so I ended up committing to buy a bred sow, 2 bred gilts, 3 younger unrelated gilts, and an unrelated boar. So I started with the direct offspring of 9 of the 12 original foundation pigs.
Wow.
I had 2 of those litters about a month after I brought them home. And so within the year I was running, 10 sows and 3 boars. And at that time, I was the only one outside of Rico that had more than one breeding boar. And so kind of by default, I was the emergency backup to the original herd. And, as much as I could, worked on getting those pigs out to other people. I actually come from kind of a restaurant background. And so my aim was to get them into good restaurants just to kind of elevate the name. And so my first sales were to some really great restaurants in the Kansas City area that had been nominated for like James Beard Awards and were just highly regarded in the area. I now work with the Stone Barns Center, who works with the restaurant Blue Hill in New York on a project based around basically doing alternative feeds using Meishan hybrids. And a lot of what I've done really is just trying to understand this pig, because I knew that being a good breeder wasn't just propagating. It's selection and understanding the history of the pig and the physiology of the pig. And that was the really interesting situation that I found us in as breeders, is that you had this pig that there was no known history of. We couldn't talk to other farmers who had any significant history or experience with these breeds. But they'd been in a research facility for 20 plus years. So I could find these, peer-reviewed studies on their just innate physiology, covering everything from, how they digest fiber to why they have larger litters to just about anything you could want. I also started tracking down what sources I could find on the history of pigs in China, the history of this breed specifically. And then I think it was about in 2020 when Laura took over the Breed Association that I first made any contact with her or even talked to her.
What was it you said? We were like islands, I think you said at conference, that a lot of us were that way.
There's 6 or 7 of us kind of foundation breeders, and it was kind of like being on a desert island because we didn't really talk to each other at all. And I think that's one of the great things that Laura has done since becoming president is increasing the activity on our forum, our Facebook page, and in general just bringing people together and having more of a community based around this breed. So it was with her that we created the first conference. We've now had a second conference, and it's really grown from there. And at our most recent conference, we had the Livestock Conservancy in, and they informed all of us that the breed was no longer critically endangered. And that's kind of why we're starting this podcast.
Yeah. I remember Jonathan being very overwhelmed in 2020. And several people called and, congratulated me. I know that I talked to you not long after that. Katie Kelly called, and I just remember thinking, how do you prepare yourself for that kind of work, But, you guys supported me, and we were able to move forward. Largely, I think, because of everybody's support for me, which I'm grateful for, but I quickly realized that I had to have you help me out. The technical side of it, the research side of it, I love it. And to me, this podcast personally is so that I can essentially ask you all the questions that I have, like feeding and line breeding and things like that. So I'm grateful that you came on board to help us with the head of research, and I think you've also done some tremendous things there. So,
thank you. And so that's going to be the aim of this podcast. Our first episode is with the expert himself, Max Rothschild. He's the geneticist, professor emeritus from Iowa State, who first imported the Meishan pigs, the only living American I know of that has seen them in France, the UK, and in China. He selected the individual pigs that were brought into the United States, and we think that now that we're no longer critically endangered, we're no longer in survival mode, that the path forward for us as a breed is really working to improve and better understand these pigs.
I've said oftentimes, and I think it's definitely worth repeating here, one of the great advantages to the Meishan is we had a lot of, actually I think all the founding members cared about genetics. They cared greatly about it. There was no, let me buy whatever and let me just go make babies. Everybody that I know of that's a founding member wanted to know that they were genetically diverse in what they did. And I think that made a tremendous difference in where the breed is now. As I look at our registration numbers and where you can find Meishans, largely I think you can get them across the U.S. You know, I don't really need to fly pigs anymore, which is good because that's stressful. Trying to make all that work. So yeah, I look at it as it's time to move forward. And to me, we did the hard work. We saved the breed. It will definitely be on one of my greatest accomplishment lists of my lifetime. But now we get to see what's next. What's the fun part of it? And you know, for the first time in the last probably 14, probably a year, I've been able to say, that pig looks great, that looks great, let's see what they make. Not necessarily, how do we, you know, look at it as genetic diversity. So I'm excited to talk about all these things. We'll be our host, as far as you and I will be co-host. Max joining us is phenomenal. So like you'll see in the first episode, he is available for his expertise, and then he knows other people that he's willing to help us with. I also want to talk to our members that are movers and shakers and that are out there doing some really cool things and unique things with the Meishan and pushing the movement forward. So the goal right now is to release these every other week. We're going to do our best to stay on that recording schedule, but as farmers and all this stuff, we will do our best to do that. And if you have a topic or a subject that you would like us to talk about, please reach out. You can find us as far as the American Meishan Breeders Association, any of the webpage, Facebook, anything like that. Jonathan is Oddbird Farm. What's your webpage? Is it?
Oddbirdfarm.com.
Okay, not the or anything. Oddbirdfarm.com.
Yep.
And just let us know what you'd like to hear. So again, thank you for watching. We're excited to have the Meishan Edge go live, and we will see you on the first episode. Bye.